Welcome to Season 2, Episode 8 of Did We Make Ourselves Clear? I'm your host, River, and it's good to be back with our podcast that clarifies the subject matters of love, life, and everything in between. I'm pleased to be here with my co-host, KP.
What up, what up? Thanks, River. Today's episode, we're going to be exploring the topic, finally, of love and marriage. You know what I mean? We're going to talk about some real conversation with some real individuals today that we brought into our convo. And the husband, he's a business consultant. The wife's a music teacher. And together they have a bond that stood the test of time. Their names are David and Mylene Williams. And they're going to share with us the secrets to longevity from their 29-year friendship and 23-year-old marriage. Dave and Mylene, welcome to the show, y'all.
Welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
How are you?
Hey, no doubt. Glad to have you here.
Good to have you.
Such
Thanks
a blessed day.
Heavy intro.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys. It's so good to have each of you here on Did We Make Ourselves Clear? Can you share with us a little bit about your lives and where you were before you became a couple?
I'm old school, so I can let you go first. Let you go first.
I say before I was in college at Fortune Valley and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I was taking a little bit of everything. And at the time I was, but at the time I was, very much into activism in the neighborhood, Black Power, wearing the dashikis and my
Soul power.
soul power. Sister Mylene is the way everybody calls me. And some people still do, but we did a lot of good work at Florissant Valley Community College and around St. Louis during that time. It was the 90s.
That's awesome.
And for me, I'd say, wow, life before meeting Mylene, gee whiz, because it as I look back on it, like I was pretty much a kid, right? So I'm in school, trying to figure the world out and everything. So, just going to school, working the family business at the time, and just trying to get an idea of who I am and meet some interesting people, and then, in my travels, I bumped into Mylene, and she was somebody that spoke a little bit different than I ever heard before, that looked a little bit different than I'd ever seen before. So, so I was drawn to her. So, we became friends, and it's interesting. She mentioned, talked about the activism because, growing up in the early 90s, that was a big time of, what they call the Black nationalist movement. We had, Public Enemy and X-Clan and hip hop. That's what hip hop was at the time. So, so we both really heavy into that culture, of activism and such. So that so I think that's what really drew us together as far as the friendship is concerned, and then things just kind of blossomed from there. So I don't think we were necessarily looking for each other, but but I think thank goodness I think the Creator found a way to bring us together. So.
Yeah.
So it's funny you said that you weren't looking. So would it be fair to say that at that age you guys were just having fun and you weren't looking to get serious or settle down with anyone, and then all of a sudden fate just stepped in when you guys first saw each other, like love at first sight?
Well, what's interesting, and this is probably atypical, but I always liked to model a lot of stuff about my life after my father. He was a young husband and a young dad. So I always wanted that for myself. I didn't want to be, the old guy, in the club. Nothing wrong with that guy, but I wanted to, be in a situation where I could have somebody that grows with me. And I think my parents even kind of talk with that. We talk about, get married older, younger, and the pros and the cons, and one thing my father used to always talk about is like, well, if you get started young, you guys can kind of grow together, and
He
you
told
guys
you some real stuff,
start
big
this.
bro. Yeah,
What's that?
he taught you some real stuff because I feel
Yeah.
like to be a man, you got to see a man. So you were basically brought up in that culture, you know what I mean? And that's why we wanted to do a show on you guys to show that longevity is there, in the Black community, because oftentimes today we're not thinking about getting married. We're not seeing the longevity aspect, and we're not even starting early enough to even have a fighting chance at a long-term relationship and a bond like you guys has established. So, kudos to y'all and kudos to your dad for, being a role model that you can aspire to that obviously has bared some productive fruits, brother.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So it was, so I really appreciate it. But that's how I was. So I wasn't really in the party mode. Of course, you party, but I wasn't really in that mode. I was just trying to figure out who I was. But yeah, I definitely, wanted to be young husband, young father. I just knew I was going to have, at least one child, likely a boy. So I wanted to be able to keep up with him and chase him around.
What if you got a girl? You got a baby girl first. He ain't hear me.
So
I heard.
You said, what if you had a baby girl
Oh,
first?
that is just as much try to keep up with her. Yeah, my strength to fight the guys off.
2 shotguns.
Right on. So what is your, Dave, what is your favorite thing that you like about Mylene?
Okay. Oh, wow. My favorite thing about Mylene is that I'd say one, her passion. Mylene is like we're kind of like opposites, right? So Mylene, I'm the laid back person. Anybody that knows us as a couple for a while knows I'm the laid back person, and Mylene is more, has the more fiery personalities. Like when Mylene puts her mind to something, she really goes for it. Whether it, I think that's what drew her to activism. If she sees an injustice or a wrong in the world, she's going to go for it. So I think that's what really drew me to her. And then I think Mylene's ability to see the best in people, which is really good. So we have our families, right? You grow up in the family, your parents, they dote on you. You have a sibling. It's, oh yeah, it's my, it's my brother. You have my cousin, my cool cousin. So that's expected, right? But to go out into the world and you meet somebody and they see into you and see who you are. To have that person actually, say, hey, you're a good person. I see greatness in you. That's what really, just resonated with her. She was actually able to look at me and objectively, just really, be just a nurturing force and just really push me forward.
Wow. That's back to follow, Miss Mylene. So I'm gonna flip that question around. What is your favorite thing about Brother Dave? What drew you to him?
No, like you said, I have this passion, and I can just see something and like, come on, let's go, let's do this. He's like, okay. And he'll pull me back and say, let's lay this out. And I really love that because that is, and he doesn't do it in a way like, okay, you crazy woman, anything like that. He's very supportive and everything that I do, that my son does, and he's a big picture.
Okay.
And I really love that about him. I think that's something that everybody needs in their life, and that's the greatest.
They're very complimentary. Very, very complimentary. That compatibility that you guys are speaking of is so great. Where a relationship really it lasts because someone can fill in the gaps pretty well. If you can find someone that can understand you, like the brother said, you saw the best in him, and then you said that he was a detail-oriented guy. He just tied up those loose ends, and look at y'all. Man.
Is there some, everybody has habits and idiosyncrasies.
Right.
Is there some habits or something about each other that you change if you had a chance to?
I think I'd say about with if I could change something, because I think the tough part with Mylene is that passion can be a double-edged sword.
Mm.
So Mylene, particularly when she's in activist mode, she can uh, tend to wear the world's problems on her sleeve, and carry them on her shoulder. Um,
Yeah.
It's one great story I can tell about Mylene is I remember she's working through the library here in St. Louis County, and there were some children that were coming there, and then people would see the children, they would come, and it was in the middle of the winter, and but Mylene had the vision to see, oh man, these kids are coming in here and they don't have coats, and they're probably coming in to, get out of the elements, and Mylene took it upon herself to go and get some coats for for the big brother and his little sisters and everything, and I just remember that was something that really weighed on her, which like I say, it's good that she took action, but at the same time, it'd be nice that for her to be able to just woosah and sometimes be like, okay, it's gonna be okay, it's like you can put the cape down.
Take that off your chest.
Yeah, so,
Humanitarian, that's what it sounds like.
Right.
yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Both of y'all got that good servant heart.
Yes.
That's what's up.
God is good.
So what advice would you give to single folks out there that is looking for a partner or someone that they would consider, a husband or wife?
Looking.
Interesting.
Because I think God bring to you what is for you. Yeah. On their path, and they were, really working on themselves. And I'm not saying that there has to be something wrong with it, but if you're focused on yourself, then you're going to get like-minded people and like-minded hearts.
Right.
And
Agreed.
and you'll be drawn to, people that you be drawn to in order to elevate you to that meet that person.
That's some excellent advice, but I want to piggyback a little bit off of that question and ask how deeply has social media and the culture today kind of affected the possibilities, of single people being able to become in meaningful relationships now that you have the advent of TikTok and all these over-sexualized images of people. I mean, the morals today, I don't know if you guys are paying attention, but it's like out the window. How can we advise these younger people to know who to look for in a potential mate that's marriage material, so to speak?
That's a good question.
What I would say is, I'd say you can't go wrong with character.
Okay.
I really think, that you really should look at the character. So you can have personality quirks, right? But a character is who somebody is. So, so if you using social media, for example, if somebody is a mean-spirited poster, or
Scandalous.
right, very scandalous poster, that probably speaks more to the character of that person.
Right.
So to me, it's all about the character. It's like, you can, sometimes you can look past quirks, you can look past mistakes, right? But if somebody is, say, a pathological liar, or they constantly misrepresent themselves on social media, that's a character flaw, and a character flaw is who somebody is. That goes beyond just, okay, yeah, they maybe said something on social media that they shouldn't have said, but with ongoing ongoing issues there.
Yes,
and that also works in the real world, obviously.
Man, absolutely.
It works better.
Yeah.
And that's
hold on.
well, I think it's very, very.
You're breaking up just a little bit. Can you speak a little bit clearer?
Well, I said that's really right on point, because people really are very, and they find it difficult to really get to know someone.
Yeah.
But even in that, if you have or you've been a while, you can look at the history of written history right there. That's so a benefit.
Facebook, don't forget.
Yeah, written history right there.
Right.
What that person is doing online and how they're talking to people.
Yeah, I know how those memories work, man. They'll bring something dirty up, very dirty, and you've been forgot about it, and it'll be right back on your news feed. Like,
there you go.
you know. But another question I have for you guys is: we know every day ain't sunshine in the bed of roses. How do you guys get through the dark times? You know, for our viewers that may be younger couples that experience, turmoil in their marriage, and how do you agree to disagree without losing respect for one another?
Well, you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go. Well, without looking for one another, this will never change. It's timeline, it's true, it's communication.
Right.
Can't really get through any issues or problems or up in the road if we don't have good communication.
Right. That's right. Absolutely.
Even trying to figure out what they want to communicate or how to communicate what they're saying. That's still a part of communication. And knowing when to say and how to say.
Right. Framing it.
Right.
And you can't just always speak and you gotta combine the two and then think about the person that you say that you love and that you know. And know what you need to do in order to communicate with them, in order to show them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just I'll come in with that because I think that ties into to the way I see it as well. So for me, character is a big thing. Always coming back to the core of that person.
Mm-hmm.
So just if I can just give you an analogy, right? So if you have, let's say you have a 2020 Corvette, right? That's your car. All right,
Nice.
that car is the fastest thing on the road, right? That car. You know what it is. Hey, it's my it's a fast car. So if you take that car and you go to get on the highway and you only get up to 35 miles an hour, okay, this is not my Corvette. There's something going on with this car. Yeah. So coming back to the character thing, it's like really knowing your partner and knowing who you marry, and knowing who they are as a person. That's why I think the friendship is so important. That way, when things go wrong, you can say, okay, this person is not necessarily being a bad person, or they're not striking out to hurt me. There's something going on with that person because I know this is not who I wake up to every day. So you do with the Corvette, you take it to the shop, right, to see if you get to the bottom of what's going on with it. And what you do with your spouse, you talk to your spouse to really get to the bottom of it. You say, hey, I know this is not you. What's going on? And you work on it. So that's so for me, everything is about really knowing who you marry,
right,
and who you're in a relationship with.
Yes, I love that. So for those who are just tuning in, we are talking to Dave and Mylene Williams. They're talking to us about love and marriage and how they've been able to keep a 29-year-old relationship last.
Like keep
sweat. Real quick, I have a question as to knowing, as couples who've been married for 23 years, how do you keep the spark?
Fire, yeah.
How you keep that fire going? Don't be shy.
Gosh, how don't we? You pretty much have to. I think one thing that's really tough. I think it's just being yourself and really, and staying in yourself. So hey, whether it be putting on music or whatever, or or just having a drink or whatever to get, just hanging out together, just remembering what brought you together, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's the important thing. Sometimes we let the day-to-day get to us, right? But again, it's I always come back to character and the core of a person. Like Black Panther, remember who you are,
Remember who you are.
So it's like, so if I come in, I feel like I haven't been the best person towards Mylene. I have to have that introspection,
You got
that
to make
conversation with myself. It's like, how, am I treating her right? When's the last time I've taken Mylene out? It's like, yeah, hey, things are cooling off. Like, okay, look at what I'm doing, and I think, with relationships, with any type of relationship, but especially a marriage, is that when you start asking what can you give to the marriage versus what you can get out of it.
Okay.
I think you have that. I think that feedback loop just feeds in on itself. You send out that energy, it comes back to you.
I agree. Positivity breeds positivity.
That's a wonderful.
Right.
I totally agree. So you both bringing something to the table. No dead weight, because me just being in a long-term relationship, being married for many years, I noticed that, being able to catch up on slack for my spouse, or, just being really open and honest with each other is basically the key to the longevity, because if you can't reinvent yourself just like you have to do in the real world to make yourself marketable and keep yourself out there hot, then you're going to lose the fire, So in my opinion, always be able to spice it up, reinvent yourself, switch the wig up every now and again, and, say whatever it may look like. Whatever that may look like, though.
Well, at this point, I do want to shout out some people that's been in the room for a minute. We have Eve's Nectar. I want to shout out Kim Hall. Yummy D's here. Monica Lewis, thanks for watching with us today. Real quick, so I believe you did answer this question before, which was what advice would you give to married couples? But once again, Mylene, because we couldn't hear you the first time you spoke, so if you don't mind leaning in to let us know, what advice would you give to young ladies out here?
Ooh.
Well, to young ladies, I actually was on a blog at one time, trying to give some young ladies some advice.
I think,
and that I had to step back and listen to them for a minute, because they were like, well, first they asked me, well, how old are you?
So disrespectful.
I said, none of your business, but I'm old enough to know this or that. And but the big concern that I heard in that on that blog was that it's a different day and age out here, dating and so on and so forth, and the things that work for my generation doesn't work for them. But I beg to differ, because the same young ladies that were complaining about why guys do this or guys do that is the same things that I complained about when I was their age. And if I talk to other young women their age who were in successful relationships, I didn't really have to tell them anything, because they were doing the same things that I'm doing at my age to keep a good relationship going, which is communication, which is one of the big things I see out there right now is kind of bugs me. And this is no shade towards my brothers or anything like that. I just, expect all men and all young men and all young women, if you're going to come into a relationship, you come into it whole, and you come into it ready to give and not always taking. And I'm finding that a lot of these young ladies are ready to give everything just to have someone next to them, as opposed to, trying to meet someone who is not even just halfway, whole and whole.
Exactly.
I like that.
You come in half and they come in half. That doesn't necessarily make a whole.
No, they know.
You have to be whole within yourself in order to meet another whole person.
Then you will the most.
There you go. So, and I'm not saying perfection. Don't get me wrong with that. I'm not saying perfection, But if you can come into a relationship knowing who you are and knowing what you will and what you will not, tolerate, then you meet someone else who is the same way and they know what they will and will not tolerate, then you all can come together and create something beautiful. Especially if you're trying to build the same thing.
That's beautiful knowledge. Too bad it's a minority in our community because a lot of people just don't see, the aspect in that way. They looking at right now gratification and, the degradation of society is really before us. So I think it's prevalent that we continue to do shows like this to give that advice to those that think it's an impossible task to keep non-toxic, healthy Black love going and thriving, because at the end of the day, that's the family. And if we can't have a marriage, then we can't have a structure in our household, which in turn turns us into the violence that we see in every day, and the trial of, the brother today was really a turning point for Black America and white America, I hate to flip it on that, but,
it applies. It applies because you see, if we can see success, an example in that success, then we can recreate that success. Absolutely. Same thing that if we can see examples in success in our relationships, then our next generations and generations after that can create the same success.
Absolutely. And what I was trying to say was we have to realize our self-worth. And if we know what we're worth, then as you guys already alluded to, the standards need to be set. Today, there are not many standards being set from Black males or Black females for that matter. And that's why the dating pool has been as toxic as it's been with, people just doing everything and anything that's moralist. So, need to put some spirituality back in their lives. But, I get on my soapbox and preach.
It's been so great talking with you guys tonight. Is there anything you'd like to leave us on? Any high notes that you'd like to leave our watchers, our viewers?
Well, okay. Well, I always I pretty much. Well, it's something, that I say to pretty much every married couple I encounter that, except for people that's got more time in the game than us. But, or people that are newlyweds, I always say, hey, you have the marriage, which is the ceremony.
Yeah.
Right.
But then, but beyond the ceremony, a marriage is something is built. It's something that you build. So, and what I mean by that, there you go, right there on the screen. And what I mean by that is that, even though, you come together, and you have that day where you're in the chapel or whatever. But, after that, the real work starts to begin, right? And you'll have some tough times, some good times. You'll have children, all sorts of things that's happened within the family throughout your life together. And, the idea is that one event builds on the next, right? So we might have a bad day together today, but tomorrow we're going to build on that and make a good day.
That's right.
And hopefully, after you get done building one day after the next, you can look back on your body of work and say, wow, 23, 25, 50 years later, look at this wonderful life we've built together. Look at this wonderful marriage we've built together.
The children and children.
Yeah.
Right.
So on and so forth. Exactly. So to me, it's all about building. Don't get caught up in the ceremony. That's a beautiful day, but also continue to build. And just keep moving it forward.
Keep preparing for the future. And speaking of being parents, though, how that's a very special moment in any marriage. But how can it change the dynamic of the marriage? That'll be my final question.
Children?
Yeah, having children. How does it impact negatively or positively? What's the pros and cons? What would you say to couples that are married happily and then all of a sudden, you got a young one coming into the world?
Well, if they're happy to begin with, then the child only adds to their happiness.
Okay.
Of course, everything that comes in your marriage is going to take adjustments in your life. And if you planned on it, wonderful, then that you're in for a journey. If you didn't plan on it, then still, you're in for a journey. And that's 18 years.
Yeah.
That's 18 years plus depending on how many children you're going to have. And I would say it's the best journey a couple can make together.
I'll just add this, from the male side of it.
Okay.
Well, I think that was one of the tougher things, to work through.
Right.
From the standpoint of, you have this new life, right? And and moms, mom was mom, right? So they've carried this person for 9 months. Right. So so what happens is, at least from my perspective, it feels like you have this period where all of this energy goes into this new life, and it's a beautiful thing. That's how parents are hardwired. Your moms and your mom are hardwired. So just being able to make sure that you understand that, make time for each other, and also understand that, hey, as a mother, she's going to be dialed into that child's needs come first. That's all going to come first. And as the child gets older and becomes more independent, you'll start seeing that focus back on the relationship. But that first newborn infant stage, hey, you just have to kind of go, okay, yeah, she's in mother mode right now. Don't be afraid. Don't be fragile, man. That's a life she's carried for 9 months, and she's going to be dialed in. And sometimes it's tough for guys to handle that, because it can feel like a little bit of neglect, or like you're competing with that child for attention.
That's real.
But at the same time, too, on the female side, believe me, the woman hasn't forgotten.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that she and men don't ever think that she's forgotten about it. She's seeing this is something that God blessed you guys with to take care of. And at this stage, this little being can't take care of itself. So you got to make sure you're going to be that good parent. But at the same time, she is still thinking about, her bond with her husband, believe me. And that does take work, because it's an adjustment for her. It's an adjustment to be able to have to give that attention to her newborn or the toddler or the little fifth grader and husband or what have you. And it's a balancing act, so it does change the whole dynamic in the house. But like I said once before, change can be a beautiful thing, if you let it be.
Okay.
If you let it be. If it's all in how you approach it and how you welcome it into your life. And with anything, is with the energy you put towards it, is what you're going to get out of it.
Sure.
And it's as simple as that for me.
Yes.
Well, we'd like to thank you both for giving us so much more knowledge.
Dropping gems.
Dropping gems for our listeners and viewers to see. This has been so great. I've had a great time with you.
Me too, man. Man, I enjoyed it, man.
Yeah, I learned some new stuff.
Thank you for having us.
For sure. We would like to have you guys back, update us on any other new things happening in your lives, just to keep that good news out, man. I think this was a good vibe. Let's pick up where we left off.
Yes, this really was nice. For those who are watching, we thank you guys for watching us today. Mm-hmm. We will have a show on Monday. We will be bringing the fabulous, most talented Jackie Thompson. She's an actress. We'll be talking to her on that day. And if you're interested in where our Patreon page is, the link is patreon.com/that we make ourselves clear. You can check us out on SoundCloud as well at BWMOC. Yeah. We thank you so much. And our next event will be What do you have to say?
We got a hip hop superstar from St. Louis that's going to be on our show.
That's
The artist Capo Looney, St. Louis homegrown. And, we're going to be giving everybody these platforms. So stay tuned in to what we're doing. I want to say happy $420 to celebrate. Rest in peace, Black Rob, DMX, Roy Gillespie. Big shout out. We gonna make ourselves clear, you know what I'm saying? Because I know the Lord ain't brought us this far just to drop us off here.
Did we make ourselves clear? Thank you for tuning in, everyone.